welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bringing you information about your library and your community. And this evening my guest is Norm Kelly, who's done such a great job capturing old Peoria for us in his special original stories that are on the Peoria Public Library website. And Norm has been a guest off and on, but I wanted him to come and talk about the good old days in the summer in Peoria. Hi, Norm.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, we've been having a great time talking before the show started here.
That was all X-rated, so we can't talk about it.
Yeah, golf's always X-rated. Yeah, and I've just, I showed you. I just went through and found some pictures that we don't know if you even know about them or not, but we were going to show them. Yeah.
Although I am 81, that would be before my time because I recognize some of those cars. So they're old. I really wouldn't be aware of Peoria, Illinois until about 1937. I was and lived in El Vista. It was just a little subdivision, still there, between Woodrow Wilson and Holy Family. It's just a tiny little area. Little wee houses. I almost did an article and photographs on wee houses, just tiny little houses. But I realized that I'd have to get their permission, and I didn't want to go through it. But you can go through there today, and some of these would, even if they had a bedroom, I would be surprised. Not a Murphy bed either. I believe they had cots. That's what I think. And then we lived on Albany, and there were 13 in our family, and just a little small block home. And that place is still there. Holy Family, Woodrow Wilson. And that's where I really became aware of life and what was going on. And we had magnificent woods and wonderful places to play. And grade school was pretty close to us. Finally, when in 1946, all the streetcars, they were gone. They have a contract now with buses. Now, the bus would only go up to the corner of War Memorial, well, no, it was University and Forest Hill. And so we were isolated out there. We began to ride mopeds, only they were just motorbikes. Whizzers, they were called whizzers. We had Cushmans. So when we were 14, and I would have my first car probably at 16, so a 35 Ford. And once we began to get mobile, Tricia, then it was really fun. And of course there's one or two guys maybe be a year or two older. And so downtown, our entire lives, once we would play in the woods and go in the creek and build tree shacks and underground shacks and have a great time. But once we could go downtown, which was the most
get in all kinds of trouble.
the most incredible little town. I mean, in 1940, our population was 105,003.
Wow.
I'd like to believe I was in there somewhere. But keep in mind now, I wasn't technically because we were in the county.
Right.
So we started out of just 1 square mile way back in 1845.
Yeah.
And this slowly grew. And of course, they always had their eye on annexing, and that was a huge battle. And finally, in 1928, we took over Averyville. And now we're about 9.3 square miles in 1928. And the rest then is just county. West Peoria, we wanted it, the Heights, Bartonville, the city. Where were we going? I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. And so as you know now, we're heading for Dunlap and Iowa. In some of my lectures, I warned them, we're coming. Because as you can just visualize who we were, everything was downtown. We, in the 40, 41, even before the war, we had, they would have 72 restaurants downtown. Imagine.
Well, we've got some pictures here. This one actually, I had accused you of this could be you, the Boy Scout, raising the flag at the Old Settlers Monument.
He's too tall.
He's too tall to be you.
I would be the little guy over there by the girl, I think.
But this monument still stands at Glen Oak Park.
And they had a little shed, or not a shed, they called it a cabin.
I remember that.
They wouldn't call it a shed, would they? I was a Boy Scout one time. I wasn't very good.
This is an older one of Old Settlers Picnic, and this is getting pretty slim. And You and I both talked about it, and we're not sure when Old Settlers was disbanded.
Me either.
The Old Settlers was all the people who came here, you know, before a certain date, and there is a rich history and photographs.
I know,
of
some
them.
wonder. And of course, I'm certain that my grandparents, early in their lives, were involved in that. Now that river scene there, of course, we never had a boat. But occasionally you would meet someone
who had a boat.
And they would say, come on, you want to come on a boat?
That was my experience as a child, too. We didn't have a boat, but my parents seemed to frequently have people who would invite us out on the river. But this, oddly enough, is 1960s, Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Memorial Day on the Illinois River. There's no riverfront. There's no docks. People just up and down the river.
Wherever we could pull in. And then, of course, you know, we could go downtown and walk those riverbanks and get into some rather remote places before you ever got to McCluggage Bridge.
Oh, yes.
You know, that was some really remote stuff in there.
Well, I remember even in the, you know, late 60s, early 70s, walking, you know, like along the riverfront, and it wasn't developed at all, and it was really like you felt like it was a river.
Anyone
Everything's all encased in concrete now.
Anyone anywhere near my age, I feel sorry for you, but when we'd go downtown, we had the red arrow and the green arrow. These were power boats, and you had to pay money, and of course we never had any money. But to be able to get on that boat and go over to Steak and Shake on this big fast boat was an exciting time. And then in Glen Oak Park, we would row boats and
on the lagoon. Here's a scene from your era, from about 1935, of powerboat races on the river.
Huge in Peoria.
And we have a file. We have these things called, you know, flat files. You go in and ask for the photo file, and you can go in and ask for boating in Peoria.
Anything.
Stuffed full of pictures, and I had no idea that the history of boat races went so far back. I mean, it seemed to me like I don't remember boat races, and now we have these big fast boats that come and race on the river. But gosh, look at a huge crowd of people in these old cool cars.
And that's sure.
And I don't know what they're sitting on. It looks like some sort of portable,
a makeshift little stadium thing. What do you call it?
Stadium,
Yeah, like it was in the stadium. Look at them all standing there.
Watching the races, and there's sailboats watching the motorboats.
Absolutely. And we were a center of bike making in our town. We had all kinds of races of every kind of motor, the sailboats, even the steamboats, some serious steamboat ones. And everything was downtown. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get to downtown yet, but this is Bradley Park.
Yes.
Did you ever play horseshoes? Because that's what these guys are doing.
Well, of course, we had our own you know, around in the woods. We would find a stake somewhere, and then we would make our own. And then we go down in the creek and get the sand and fill it all up. And we cut down trees and level where Schmager's Park. You know Schmager's Park?
No, where's that?
Schmager's is El Vista, Albany. And it was just right down the street from me, but at that time, it was just a massive woods owned by John Schmager, who was one of the tremendously internationally known horse trainer and breeder. And we had 15 huge horse breeding farms in our area, mainly out in the
at a time, you know, for a long, long time, horses were how everybody did everything. So
you can go way back to 1875, and the first streetcar was mules.
Yes.
You know, and they had horses, but the horses, some major illness of some kind, starts with a Z, and it pretty much killed off, and so they got those. And then the first time you actually saw a motorized streetcar was some fascinating thing to look at.
Yeah.
And then in '46, that contract expired. In fact, the streetcar company, to make sure that they got the contract, built us the Emporium, a big Coliseum, we called it, and gave it to us. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And the armory was basically given to us. And so was our opera house.
Who built the armory?
Well, in connection with the local people, certainly Mayor Woodruff, and the Army, the United States Army, United States government. And that's when we were beginning to build up our army. And I love that place.
Yeah.
I would sneak in there in 1942 when we'd see the Bradley people play there. And we'd sneak in there. Then I would be a massive age of 10. And loose. you know, there's a lot of people in my family, and I don't think they ever said, "Where's Norman?" You know, I was gone. And anyway, and once we got downtown, we would go down early to the Columbia Theater. You could get in there for 4 cents before like 10. And then once we got off, we'd stop at Woodrow Wilson and beg these Caterpillar people to give us their bus pass. During the war, they did not drive their car. And Friday, when they came, we would beg them to give us their bus pass, which is still good until Monday. Oh. They have to buy another one. And they were sometimes eager to give it. And so that wasn't good enough. After we got one pass, that guy would get in and go all the way to the end of the bus and then throw the pass out. Oh. So that the rest of the guys, and we always then would meet at the courthouse. That's where we always met. And then the Columbia, the Palace, and the Princess, and the Apollo. Certain theaters we could not sneak in, like the Apollo, because there wasn't room between the person taking the ticket. So that's what we would maraud. Is that it? Marauders. That's what we called ourselves.
Became experts at,
that's right.
at sneaking around.
We did.
Ways to find rides and ways to get in.
Whatever
to shows.
It took.
Kids with no money, and you still did it.
Circus and the carnivals.
Here's a picture of a parade downtown, and we think this is probably a 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
But look what's in the background. It's the original library,
Isn't that
the original
nice?
Public Library.
That's
where our parking lot stands now.
Remember, it was cursed property. You know that ghost story. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's the lot next door where that tree is that was the cursed ground.
Yeah.
But, so we moved the library over from where our parking lot is now onto the cursed ground.
Yes, right. It's neat. But
and I could never find the root of that story. I went none of that stuff in that. I think some enterprising newspaper person put that whole thing together way back when.
Plenty of
just kept going on because although Mrs. Gray did own that mansion and Governor Ford and his wife did die there, she never had a nephew that drowned in the river.
No, that was their favorite one. And then there's other ones, Normie, and of course inside the library itself, things falling and stuff.
Not anymore. You know, since we remodeled, we think that
scared him.
Well, we think there were multiple interesting spirits that might have lived there, but my theory is that they were attached to some of the books that have gone to places that can appreciate them better. So maybe they went traveling.
You think that's it?
Nothing has banged, no lights have turned out, nothing has fallen off.
That's a shame.
Nobody has seen strange old men in rockers since we remodeled. And maybe it's the fact that the lights turn on. We have all those motion sensor lights. So maybe when the spirits were walking and the lights turned on, it was not fun.
The ghosts
anymore.
were big at St. Francis, too.
Yeah, are they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is a neat picture. We were looking at those cars, and we figured this was really early.
Oh, that's really early. Yeah.
And people sit, and you still see this same scene. Every parade we have in Peoria still goes by the main library, and of course we have our quiet reading room now, which is a great place to watch a parade.
Yeah.
But, well, particularly the St. Patrick's Day parade. The front of the library and our parking lot are just packed.
In even way back when the war ended, the Civil War, there were huge people.
Huge parades.
Yeah. And look at everybody dressed.
This parade is about probably about 1900, judging by the ladies' big hats and white blouses, and this is summertime too. Do you remember going to parades downtown Peoria?
That was the biggest thing we ever did. Because, you know, mainly because where there are people, we just love to run around and just cause all kinds of problems. You know, looking for nickels, dimes, things that were on the ground, we did. And you could get a hot dog for 5 cents.
You find a nickel and you could buy a hot dog.
Absolutely. We sold mushrooms and every kind of thing that grew. We stole it out of the orchard, and we would. What else? Asparagus was big.
Who'd you sell it to?
The people lived in El Vista, and of course later on, then when we hunt rabbits and squirrels, a lot of the men that couldn't hunt anymore, we had this. People would fill these orders, and once we could get 35, 45 cents, I could have a wonderful time. Don't forget, the slot machines are down there too.
Oh, yes.
And there's a particular drugstore that there was a kind of an older man, and he was a pharmacist, and he didn't pay much attention, which was a mistake.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when we had a slot machine, and one time I won like 45 cents, and I thought, man, this is a life for me. But they
Being a
were all
big-time
over.
gambler.
Yeah, they were all, of course, don't forget, and all during the war, we had 9 flat-out casinos, 242 saloons, taverns, you know, and over 452 grocery stores within the city limits. It was an incredible shopping area, and they said if you can't find it in Peoria, then you don't need it.
Yeah.
And they really, it was a massive place, and yet it was tiny when you think about it. It was very small.
But bigger than anything else, and I'm sure the railroads and the river are what brought all of that here.
You bet.
And this parade is a little bit later. These folks look like it's maybe the 20s.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
30s.
those cars over there. Boy.
Yeah, the ladies' skirts are a little shorter, and the men are wearing a different kind of hat. But it's still summer, still patriotic. But if you look at how those stores are jammed in there,
together,
and they've got the Bonton, and you've got the Fay Hotel, and there's a looks like there's a Red Cross banner up there.
Just
too.
think
So this could be wartime.
By 1912, most of our buildings were built.
Yes.
Isn't that strange? And then, of course, the Pierre Marquette was 1925. But just think of this. By the time World War I rolled around, we were a major, metropolitan, cosmopolitan, a wonderful place to be, and a great liberty town, including in 1941, when the war broke out, 23,200 of our people in the city and the county, they're gone, including my 3 brothers. And that's when kids shined, teenagers.
Yeah.
We were about the only men you had around. And we were 100 miles from being men, but, you know, once you get rid of your 3 brothers, you kind of run the show.
Yeah,
You know that?
I bet.
Because brothers have a tendency to crack you alongside the head.
And
so
let you do what you
you
want.
bet, which was mainly get some kind of problem one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the people and the kids in El Vista to this day, still we email and we're very close. Think of that. That's over 70 years ago. We still are friends. And to come downtown for any reason, of course the movies. At one time we had 17. And of course we had a north end, south end, you know, and then later on.
You think now you can go to one theater and see
see it,
17
absolutely.
movies, but that you know has kind of probably killed off, you know, the fact that the big multiplexes.
Sure.
And so they make their money off the concessions and nothing else. So that's what happens.
In our
there.
day,
But
it was milk
when
duds.
you look at this and we talk about, you know, what an exciting place was downtown.
So neat.
I mean, downtown only looks like this for parades now. You don't see this, but I remember in the 50s and 60s as a child growing up here, taking the bus downtown and having the same experience. You just spend all day Saturday down there. You might have $1, you know. And
you did, huh?
Yeah, and you you'd go to the movie, and you'd go to the buffet and have lunch, and you know, you'd sit up in the balcony and drop popcorn down on the people underneath you, and dodge the ushers with the gloves and their little hats on.
They did look kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but but we expected to see them wearing that. So,
and they used to roust us, but they soon found out that they could get pushed around. So they basically, as long as we got in there and shut up, that's pretty much was it. You know, which was hard to do, you know, but because there was Tom Mix and all the wonderful, great stories and all the cereals, and a guy I loved was Lash LaRue.
Oh.
Nobody's ever heard of him, but I like him. He had a whip, and I thought that was neat. And we would make whips out of willows, and you just wonder. I'm pretty much blind in one eye, but I didn't lose it then.
Not from the willow whip, huh?
Yeah, and then of course the nightlife down there, when we were not part of it, was just exciting. You know, it's not anything to be talking about now, but it was very exciting. Not for us.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't until I began to write about Peoria that I realized, no wonder this place was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. You can imagine 242 saloons.
Yeah. Well, and this is, they're tearing down the old post office there in the background, but this is soldiers probably marching off to war.
Could be, but they appear to be workers from Peoria.
Well, in the front, and then the next section is all soldiers, so I'm not sure this could just be, this could even be Labor Day at the end of the summer, perhaps. And those cars all look like 1930s too.
Yeah,
but another great shot of, do you know, where was this old post office? Is that where the federal building is now?
Oh yeah, we've always owned that property.
Yeah.
We've always owned that.
Because that, you know, when I was growing up, that was the post office, and then they moved
Just
it.
think, I remember in the post office, armed soldiers, bayonets, and mask, you know, smoke thing. And we
gas
tried
mask.
it, we'd talk to them, you know, and wish we were them. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
We really did think. And we had mock attacks on our city. We had people up at the Alliance Life building, which was now First Bank. I have no idea what it is now. And they were looking for Japanese and German bombers to fly over. And we had blackouts and shortages and black market and people knocking on your door and yelling at you because maybe the drape wasn't covering the line.
Yeah,
we really expected, seriously, an attack from where, but while we were scared,
Well, it could have happened if things had gone differently. I mean,
California, we thought sure the Japanese would, but we didn't hear about Pearl Harbor till December 8th, the next day, you know. And of course, who knew where Pearl Harbor was? Certainly none of us, you know. But then when you watch the neighborhood and your brothers go, and it wasn't until 43 where any really decent news came. And we would constantly, the little flags in our windows, you know, some of those turned gold, which indicated people had been killed. We lost 662, you know, from the city and the county. But what really got me is 3,200 went in the service. 38,000 were drafted. I mean, come on, you guys, we're kind of small. Leave us alone after you take anybody that can walk.
Well, I pretty much think that happened across the country.
I bet.
Other than people who were farmers, and even a lot of them went.
And women. Women joined the WACs and the Waves and the Spars, and of course Rosie the Riveter. We had 6,600 of our people, ladies, working in our factories round the clock. Our tavern stayed open 22 hours a day, and these people, when they got off work, they ate and they drank and they had fun. And this was a wonderful town. I mean, it was a great time, and just although we're too young to be part of it, we were slightly in on it. And we loved the stories that our uncles told us. And it was just exciting for us. I mean, really exciting. Just to go down and be part of it. You know? In the courthouse, they always had a tank and a machine gun, and it was just fun. And every time a new group left on the train, there were all kinds of people down there. And we got a kick of seeing the girls kiss the boys goodbye. You know, we thought that was neat. And when, seriously, we were now getting old enough to where we were thinking, well, you know, maybe we would get to go. And of course, the sad part was 5 years later, we all went in the Korean War. So, you know, we got kind of what we wanted to. But when you think about the loss and the number of us and the people that are involved, and
it's incredibly tragic.
It was. You know, try to keep it. And then in 1946, when the war ended, Peoria, Illinois was chaotic. All the GIs came back. Well, all those people that came in to take those jobs, they stayed. And the ladies didn't want to leave their job. The divorce rates and all the other real parts of the effects of the war were just incredible. And as a historian, I was stunned by it. I was. I thought, well, wait a minute, I don't remember any of that because I was too young.
You didn't.
I didn't understand any of that stuff.
People didn't talk about it or why it was going on, and I'm not sure the folks at the time knew what was happening to them.
I don't think so.
Because to them it was what was going on with their family, and they probably weren't seeing the big picture of this huge sociological shift.
How did it affect me and us? That's who we were, you know. But to look at things like that and to remember myself down there, we went to everything we could.
This is a bunch of little girls being baton twirlers.
All from Indian heritage, they think.
I doubt not. I was going to say this. Could be more politically incorrect.
You bet, but in those days we didn't know that.
This was the days of the the Lone Ranger and Tonto and really not meant to be an insult, meant to be a hero worship. Meant to be admiration and interest in another people, and you wonder, did all these little girls go on and enter the Miss America pageant?
Where are they now?
Twirlers. Yeah, where are they now?
They're probably my age if they
probably
survived.
Around somewhere.
Sure they are.
But cute and marching in the parade.
But
and having taken small children in the usual parade route, that is a long.
You bet.
And here we are. And this was our final image. This is Uncle Sam on a. We were trying to figure out the date of this. Very, very old
It could
car.
be the old Bartholomew Glide. Remember in 1910 when Roosevelt was here? That was a Glide when he said the world's most beautiful drive. It isn't a lot older than that. I wouldn't think so.
This is a while back, and these guys are having a good time. They're all grinning and laughing. And it looks like Uncle Sam was tipping his hat. But,
I think so.
You know, downtown is packed again, and it's. I think what people now don't, they might come down for parade and see downtown packed, but they don't realize it was like that every day.
Every day.
You had to fight your way through the crowd.
You couldn't even get across the street. So naturally, what did we do? We ran through.
Yeah,
and of course, we would get up there and look around for that cop, and then at the right second, 5 or 6 little brats would be flying across. Well, finally, the cops wouldn't even bother anymore. They knew they couldn't stop us. But, you know, they were only trying to stop us from getting killed. We thought they were trying to stop us from getting over there.
Yeah, and they were trying to stop you from running out in front of a car.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I remember being downtown and my dad giving me long speeches about the different signals, you know, when you hear the beep or the buzz or whatever. And I think we still have those, but I don't know what they mean anymore. No. They're all different, all electronic signals.
The nighttime down there was so exciting when you got old enough to be able to go down there. And at 14, you know, we were in cars now.
Right.
And our friends have cars. You know, of course, I swear to you, we did not drink like some teens that I know. We did not.
Yeah, they didn't.
We smoked Camels and Wings and cigarettes, and
that was it.
That was it, and then we were, you know, act like we were big time, choked to death, but we still tried to smoke, you know. But,
well, Norm, we're out of time. But
really,
thank you so much.
So much fun.
It is, and I know you're going to get us some more stories for our website.
I have.
If people haven't seen them, I hope they do.
I do.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, thanks.
Be sure and visit our website, find out what's going on, and read all of Norm's story. They're in our local history section. So we'll see you next week on Information Please.